Awesome. Welcome to another episode of Work Measured. We are so excited to have our guest, Meg McWilliams, here today with us. Meg has spent her career kind of creating experiences that bring people together. She started with the LA Film Festival and Sundance, and then moved into VR and immersive experiences. She helped build communities at brands like our event with founders behind the original Call of Duty, which I hope we kind of get into. And now she's building Mixies, an AI native platform for in real life communities. And Meg, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited as well. I know we actually met at a founder dinner, which is kind of like the perfect segue into what we're talking about. It's just like connection and moments that bring people together and how we're losing a lot of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you kind of brought that up because I hadn't been taking advantage of in-person events. I think post-pandemic they sort of went away and Zoom became the reality of our lives and everything felt like one Zoom meeting to another. What are you seeing out there in terms of what's happening with IRL events and
Yeah.
the trend?
Yeah, I mean, I think the trend has swung back vigorously, right? I think everyone is trying to do in person. A lot of people's go-to-market strategy is based around how can we get more in-person dinners happening in the city. And like I think on like LinkedIn and X, everyone's posting like the gigantic salaries that these like community positions are getting at like Anthropic and OpenAI of like $350,000 for like a community manager, right? So I think that everyone is just very excited about it because it's so hard to stand out online, right? Like there's just so much noise. People won't even answer your email if you haven't met them in person before. So, yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see what you guys are seeing on your side as well.
Yeah, I think more of the same. I feel like in person is a muscle that I almost lost, and I had to
Yeah.
reflex and get myself like having those conversations. And Nick knows this. I am not a shy person by any definition of it, but I do find it more authentic and more genuine. And like the way we talk online, we never talk to people like that in real life.
Yeah.
But I'm also feeling like we've almost like optimized all of these opportunities to connect with people completely out of our system, both in our personal and professional
Yeah.
lives. And that scares the shit out of me. I was in Spain recently and there was a grocery store where there wasn't even a cashier. You just put your stuff, it gets
Yes.
weighed, it gets scanned, and you just walk out the door. And like, I worry that we're going to forget that muscle of actually
Yeah.
having these connection points.
Well, yeah, and I think to your point, like we already are, right? Like I could not leave my house at all and I could get all my food delivered. I could get like, and I don't, it's like all contactless, right? I don't even need to open my door anymore. I can literally push a button that's like, I don't want to see anybody. And so I do think it's kind of like insidious, right? Because it happens slowly. It's not like there's some big thing on a billboard that's like, you will not see anyone for the next 2 weeks. It's like all these like micro decisions that get made um in the name of efficiency, right? Or like access to everything. And so I think it's something that's happening in a way that we're not even fully cognizant of what the outcome is going to be from it. Like how is that affecting our mental health? And like you're saying, like we're losing that muscle to even be able to like look people in the eye anymore. Like I really experienced that, especially right after COVID when I was going to events, like the amount of eye contact struggles is how I will explain it that I saw. I was like, what is happening? And yeah, like what are all of the outcomes? I don't think we're even aware of what that's going to be yet, but it scares me a lot. So
One of our community members, Professor Juliana Schroeder, she's a longtime friend and collaborator of mine. She's at UC Haas, but she has a fantastic paper. I think it's pre-COVID days, but the title of the paper is essentially, what is it? We mistakenly seek solitude. So
yeah,
when presented with the opportunity, we will say, "Oh yeah, I'd prefer just to be alone, or I'd prefer to just get this thing to my door. I don't want to talk to anyone." But what they showed in these series of studies is while we prefer it, it's actually much worse for us.
Yeah.
So they ran this cool experiment on the subway or some sort of transit, and half the people were told, just do your normal thing, which is probably don't talk to strangers. And then the other half was strike up a conversation with a stranger, at least one. And most people were like, oh, I don't know, I rolled their eyes, I don't want to. But then they do it, and then you ask them afterwards, and consistently and reliably, those people were happier, not just on the day, but days after,
Yeah.
simply by just striking up a conversation with a stranger. But we are like our own worst enemies because, like you said, Meg, it's like, oh, I can just get this thing and it's so convenient, it's so easy. But of course, we're not realizing what there's always a price to pay, and that price is
Yeah.
our, what, like you said, our well-being, loneliness, which is on the rise. So I'm really
Yeah.
glad you are sort of taking up the reins and bringing this very important part of our humanity back.
Yeah, no, we definitely saw, even in the early prototypes. So right now, Mixies has become like a community platform. So right, we want to be like Discord for IRL communities where event organizers can create events and communities can create spaces, and we can help people find who they need and what they need across all IRL. But in the originally, we were just doing warm intros via text at like Luma events, for example. And a big thing that we saw, that made me kind of emotional through the process too was like when we were doing a lot of the user interviews and we had talked to the people who had made those connections before the event, like almost, I would say 6 out of 10 people said that they wouldn't have even come to the event if it wasn't for interacting with our platform, because they were like, I feel like I walk into all these events and no one even cares that I'm there. No one's waiting for me. And this is the first time I felt like I'm showing up to an event and I matter. And that was able to overcome that kind of like reflex that we have of like, oh, I'm just going to stay home. I'm just going to watch Netflix. I'm just going to like keep sending emails. And so it's also like that fear, right? Of like, I think we want human interaction, but it takes more energy, and it also puts us in a space of maybe no one wants to talk to me, right? And like that fear of rejection that is scary, for everybody.
Curious, what are you seeing generationally? Because I think there's some research to show that I'm going to make a big assumption here and just call us all millennials, okay? And we can
Yes, it's correct.
so we we were, like went to school and did all the things and then had our first jobs. That was long before this, work from home, and certainly long before COVID and pandemic days. But there's a huge swath of the new workforce who were in, like, their university or college days and those first years of their entry level jobs where the norm became, I don't go to these things. Are you seeing, yeah, do we have to worry about the kids, the Gen Zs and the workforce?
I think I think to a degree, and there's always like outsiders, right, from that. Because like I have some of my best friends that are in the Gen Z group who fall outside of this, of course. But I do think overall as a whole, there's kind of like more of a like swipe relationships for Gen Z, and that they're more like disposable. And I think they'll put in like less time to kind of figure out if there is like
Hmm.
something there at the core that they should be investing in, is what I've kind of experienced. Yeah, there's just like a smaller attention span
Hmm.
overall to be like, oh, okay. And I think you need an attention span to understand somebody and ask questions and be curious and get to that next part of relationship building in my mind. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. And yeah, I think more millennials are struggling with the current state of things and really wanting to get back in person more.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you think that translates to, work and being back at the office and some of that transition? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, or hybrid
Yeah.
is the way to go?
I think it's a great thing to be able to, and I think one though the move to remote allowed so many people to have access, right, to jobs that they maybe couldn't have because they couldn't afford to live in San Francisco, for example, right? And now they're able to work with teams here, and there is this hybrid potential. So I think there's a middle ground, but I do think overall, like as a generalization, it's better for people to have a community that they see every single day, that they go into the office and get to just have those like water cooler moments where everything is not like I'm only talking to someone as a transaction to get a specific piece of information, right? There's just more like spontaneity and oh, we can talk about our dogs or whatever, right? And I think we're lacking that. And then what does that do to our mind when every interaction is only to get something from somebody is also not great.
Do you think the
Yeah.
struggle is what we give up in productivity? And so, like, for example, with me, I, if I'm commuting into an office in San Francisco, you know, given any
Yeah.
given day, it's like 45 minutes. And I sometimes think about, holy shit, if I'm at home, I can just wake up at 7 a.m. and just get going.
Yeah.
And I almost feel guilty that when
Yeah.
I'm commuting, I've lost like 2 hours of my day,
Yeah.
right? Where I
Yeah.
could have been more productive. And do you think like others are feeling that as well? Like, I could accomplish
Yeah.
so much more. And
Yeah.
I'm also struggling in the AI world of like, I'm just doing more and more and more. And I think the promise was like with any tech, like you're going to have more time back to do
Yeah.
maybe deeper, meaningful thinking. But instead, I keep filling it. I just keep filling it more and more and more and
Yeah.
more and more. And
Yeah.
um, are you seeing that too?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same. It's like I'm always calculating the ROI on how long I'm spending traveling somewhere or doing anything, right? And it's kind
I
of
think
like
our
this,
last call was at the airport,
yeah,
right? You were flying
yeah,
out, and yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
It's kind of like, yeah, become this unhealthy compulsion. And yeah, I agree. I think it's like it's easier. That's also why I chose to live in the city, right? Is because now like if I'm going to a meeting, it takes me like 10 minutes to get there and I can be like, okay, now that's 20 minutes back and forth. And so like it feeds my compulsion while the ROI problem. But I do think like taking a step back from that and thinking about it's such an American thing, right? And like I love living here, but it's very much everything is about like growth and shareholder value and it's like growth for the sake of growth. And I think we kind of have to take a step back and think about like just what's our North Star and what are the things that like help us as a society and us as individuals and putting that into the equation of the ROI because it usually gets left out. Because it's like, then why are we doing everything? Like, if we're doing all of this and we're just going to be like empty souls who are like alone and sad, then saving that like 20 minutes on the commute is not really worth it. But it's hard. Like, I mean, I feel you. I feel the same way. And I'm like deeply thinking about this stuff and in this space, and I still feel the same way. So
The
yeah,
temptation,
if you
right?
have like tips on how to help, then I'm open to it
I'm
as
still thinking about
well.
being empty souls at the end
And
of the
souls.
day.
There's a really great Kurt Vonnegut like quote where he talks about how his wife is always asking him like why he's going out to buy envelopes because every time he needs an envelope, he like goes out to the store and buys one. She's like, why don't you just go and get like 100 envelopes sent to us? Like, why are you always doing this? And he was like, no, like, I think he even says something like, I pretend not to hear her when she says this, and I go out and I get an envelope because I'm having like a fucking great time when I get this envelope. Like, I meet a lot of people, I see great looking babies, I like cuddle some dogs on the street. He's like, there's so many things that are like just these little excuses to go kind of like fart around, is what he calls it, like fart around the world and interact with people. And he's like, don't let people like kill your fart around moments because it allows us to actually like go move around the world. And like, we're not supposed to just like fart around anymore. And so I try to like
Yeah.
think about that like actively, like kind of like almost weekly. I try to be like, what's my fart around moment that I can go and like
Love
just
that.
be in the world. And it's one of the reasons why I've never bought and will never buy a printer. Because like I don't need to print very often, and it's always a good excuse to like go to the library. And the library is beautiful here too. It's the I go to the one like down on Union. And it's like such a nice experience. I like to talk to the librarian. So like I think maybe that's like a little hack is like what is a fart around moment you can like protect in your life
Do
and
you
just keep
mind
it.
for our viewers just telling them what a library is? No, I'm
Yes.
just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's a mythical place. Lots
Yeah.
of books.
I love that concept, that idea. It's so cool. It's like you're adding
Yeah.
in an important piece of friction into your life, but for the
Yeah.
good reason, right? To realize the benefits. I was having a
Yeah.
conversation with a leader in the pharma world recently,
Mhm.
and so one of you said earlier, like those cashierless checkouts, right? On the surface, the business case makes perfect sense. You're going to pay somebody, you have one less salary to pay, and you can move people along more quickly. But what they found was that there's a demographic who actually benefited greatly from checkout people, the human cashier, elderly people who feel particularly lonely. And those quick conversations with a stranger are actually super important for them in their socialization and their well-being. Another use case, which is similar, is, and I never thought about this, but cancer treatment. So cancer drugs are getting better and better and better, so much so that you don't have to come in and receive an IV and sit in a chair to get usually like a chemo treatment or a radiation
Yeah.
treatment that takes a long period of time. On the surface, that's great. You have personalized medicine, you're not in the hospital as long, but actually, people make deep connections with other
Yeah.
people who are receiving cancer treatment. So if hospitals and the whole like healthcare infrastructure is moving towards, oh, just take that away, that makes sense. Yes, but what are you losing? You're losing this ability to strike up a conversation with another person in this unlikely of scenarios of one receiving a cancer
Yeah.
treatment, right?
Yeah, no,
Those
I
are
think
awesome examples.
it's a great point of like it's like with a company, right? And because we're all entrepreneurs, it's like what are your mission, vision, values as a society and as a community? And I feel like because now we live in this state where it's like everyone has like their own adventure and it's like we're all individualized to such a high degree that I don't think we have that as a whole, right? And so like decisions about like how our cities are made or like the tools we use aren't like we're just not thinking about these things or being asked to pose these questions to ourselves because it's like yeah, to your point, if the mission is like create more community, then you wouldn't make that decision to have these drugs be able to be used at home, and you would guard and protect and make sure that like this is a sacred space. Um, and so yeah, like what I don't know how we solve that beyond like trying like my solve is just trying to build tools that help make it easier to reach for people instead of past people, and that's all I can do. But I don't know. I don't know what the larger kind of solve is.
There's this is timely because another member of ours in Labs 150, Dr. Margie Worrell, who's been on the podcast before actually, she and I have created a bit of a playbook, a piece that's going to be published in HBR, and we're calling it the refusal framework of values. And essentially it says like usually how we frame values is in the affirmative, like we are integrity or whatever the case may be. When in fact, for millennia, religion, culture, politics, military, you name it, whatever domain in human organizations, we've typically operated out of a refusal or a prohibitive stance, which says
Yeah.
we do not cross this line. This is the line in the sand. We make it very clear. We state it to all of our group members or tribe members, team members,
Yeah.
and we assign people. We call them line holders, who are in that group and say, you're getting a little too close to that line, right? And the way that we sort of argue is that that creates a much tighter, cohesive culture because you can see when the violation has occurred and you can name it. So that might be one way to kind of like maintain these things that are important from a mission, vision, values point
Yeah.
of view.
Yeah. I love that. I would love to read that whenever it's available.
Yeah, of course. We'll share it around. We're going to share it around with our network.
Yeah, you should also read. There's an author, Byung-Chul Han. Have you ever read any of his stuff?
No.
I'll send you. He writes a bunch of kind of like smaller books, like maybe I don't know. They're like 100 to 150. They're more like essays, but you can get them in books. And he talks a lot about just like the loss of ritual, the loss of belonging, and he does it in a very interesting way, and in a way that almost kind of like I think will offend a lot of people. Like it even like offended me while I was reading it because it's kind of like an attack on modern day society in a lot of ways, but I think rings very true. And he talks about how we're also just like we're lost in the sea of information. We have more access, we have more information, and it's at the cost of the loss of narrative, right? And like narrative is what like grounds us and has always grounded us. And like the biggest narrative that we're losing is the narrative of like where we belong in the world and how we relate to one another. Um, and it's like a heavy read, so maybe don't do it like right before bed. But it's really yes, yes, yes. Oh my gosh, you're the first person I think I've ever like talked to and who has literally brought up the book. Also, you're muted right now.
Nick, you might be on mute.
Sorry for that. My PhD was in the psychology of rituals. So this is
Oh
yeah, this
my
is like
gosh.
my summer read, and I've read it like 5 times. That's
It's
so
so
funny.
I reread this all the time.
Yeah,
Like it's like a Bible almost, and then I need like to get hit with it again. And
it's
you're
amazing.
like,
It's
that's
amazing.
so
Yeah.
cool.
That I have never come across somebody and referenced that. So when you asked, I was like, that does sound familiar, but I'm just gonna say no. And I was like, no, that's the book that's in my bag beside me. So very
Yes.
cool.
Oh my gosh, I need more book recommendations from you then, Nick, because I feel
Happy
like
to. Happy to. Yeah, yeah. I'll send you
We
some
should
pictures
actually
too.
just include, because we've talked about so many great references as part of publishing this, and tag them all in here.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll do that for sure. Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about AI, Meg? You're building an AI native
doing.
company, and
Yeah.
do you think AI is deepening human connection, or is it replacing human connection?
I mean, I think it's like a tool, right? It like just depends on how it's used. Like, I would argue that I'm using it in the way that is deepening human connection, obviously, from no bias perspective. But yeah, I think that like the things, right, that are obviously taking away those moments of friction, it's like, like Harvey, you don't need a lawyer anymore. And so specifically the Harvey example, I'm excited about and sad about simultaneously because it's so expensive, especially as a startup founder, like, to speak with a lawyer, it's like $600 an hour sometimes just to ask the most basic questions. And I think it's so important to be able to like democratize access to this information while simultaneously like for my first company I was very close with our corporate lawyer and like I felt like I cried on the phone to our lawyer at times like we had a deep relationship and now that avenue is gone, right? Like that path has kind of disappeared for a lot of people. So I think like whenever you're seeing that AI is being used to completely replace a person, it like hurts my heart a little bit. And like I would rather more see it be used in the way of like, how does it help me find people faster or like reduce this work that I need of going and searching for people or help me spend less time on the computer doing manual entry of XYZ, right? Because then I am able to spend more time with the humans in my life.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm interested to hear what you think of it on your side as well.
Well, interestingly, I met my lawyer, Jim from Perkins Coie, in person at a real event, at an HBS event,
Yeah.
and I thought he was an awesome, awesome person. He still is. And normally, I can't say that about most lawyers I come across. And I was like, I could hang out with this guy, and that's what really, created the relationship of like having them as our general counsel and corporate counsel and stuff. And
Yeah.
so I don't know if I would have just gone out and saw it because I think with legal, I need trust. It's something I weigh
Yeah.
really heavily.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you do that, how you connect that trust factor to just a technology solely without a person behind it. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well, I think we have probably a good use case in Hatch Proof
Yeah.
where, yeah, of course, we're AI native and, we're not Luddites here. We're very much proponents of technology. But the question is, like you said, Meg, it's a tool. So why are we using that tool? So if you apply
Yeah.
it to a performance conversation, yeah, we have the technology that's helping surface certain performance insights. But the reason we're doing it is so that the conversation between a manager and employee can be that much more productive and that much more human to human relationship building. So we're improving what is a social, what we believe is a broken social process today, performance reviews. But the way we're improving it is with this tool that happens to be called AI, right? And I think
Yeah.
there's all sorts of different, that we should be sort of orienting to those use cases as opposed to the ones which are AI for AI's sake, automate, replace, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I think, especially for the younger generations, I think it's even scarier to think of like them solely interacting with AI, and being like taught that cadence of also communication is like the norm, or like the sycophantic tendencies of the AI to just say whatever you said back to you. It's like is also the norm. So yeah, I also think I'm particularly wary of it in any platforms where like children of any sort are using it, because that's also really scary.
Awesome. Well, we've loved this conversation. Nick has a great tradition that he sort of started up, and a closing question for you before we wrap up.
Some might call it a ritual. So
Yeah.
we have to respect it
Yeah.
and maintain it. So when you are interacting with your favorite LLM or AI of choice, Meg, do you say please and thank you?
I do. And I like hype my Claude up all the time. Like I'll be like, "You did so good, Claude. Like I'm so impressed." And then of course Claude will say back to me like, "I'm only good because you're so good." And I'm like, "I know." And then we just like keep gassing each other up all the time. So, so yeah, I do. I try to really think about not training myself to communicate with any uh platform, whether it's an AI or a person, in a way that's demeaning. Because yeah, it's just another like it's like a muscle. It's like if we think of everything like this muscle, it's like I don't want to train my muscle in that way.
Yeah, yeah. I teach my kids the same thing with trying to not get them introduced to Claude just yet. You know, Claude is something or someone, but like the Roomba vacuum. So
Oh
we
yeah.
personify or anthropomorphize this robot, this thing,
Yeah.
and my kids will like yell at it when it's in the way, and I say, you know, you have to speak nicely to
Yeah.
D-bot is her his name. Assigning gender is a whole other question. So,
Yeah.
but it's fascinating. We do that
Yeah.
naturally, right, as humans. So
Yeah.
it's, I think you're right, Meg. It's like how I
Yeah.
would talk to a robot vacuum rudely will be how I end up rudely speaking to the next human I come across. So it's
Yeah, I also talk to like the Waymos. Like if a Waymo waits for me, I'll be like, "Thank you, Waymo." So this is like just also like a me thing of anthropomorphizing everything. So, but one of my favorite things I think I saw, I was traveling. I think I was in Europe 2 years ago, and I saw a little girl who accidentally she got out of the car and she accidentally stepped on a flower. And she got down on the floor and she was like, "I'm so sorry, flower." And it was like one of the sweetest interactions I've ever seen. I'm like, I feel like if everyone could just have that way of being towards everything and everyone, the world would be a better place. So that always stays in my mind.
What a beautiful close. Love that. Love that. Thanks for being our guest on Work Measured, Meg.
Thank you. So nice to meet you, Nick. So great to talk. And yeah, I hope we can do it again soon.
absolutely. We did
Awesome.
round two. Thanks, Meg.
Have a good day.